This video is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com and GatheringMagic.com, your place to explore the game.
Hi, this is Johnny Crass, and we're going to talk about my Tasigur EDH deck. This is my Tasigur the Golden Fang EDH deck. So the first thing to note about Tasigur the Golden Fang is he is actually Sultai as far as his color identity, due to an ability in his text box, which is blue-green, while he himself is just a black and 5 colorless. Tasigur is a fairly strong commander in the fact that you can delve away his repeated command tags. So oftentimes this deck just pays 1 or 2 mana total for Tasigur regardless of what turn you're playing him in. And then his second ability to put two cards of your library into your graveyard is useful for current things like tutors, for current things like bombs, extra turns, which are all run in this deck. So that is the commander. We have a few basic lands in here. We actually have a few basic lands. And this deck runs a number of basics just due to the amount of land tutors it has that care about specific land types. We run Sunken Hollow for more color fixing, Sunken Ruins exactly for the same reason, Overgrown Tomb, more color fixing and easier land tutors. Boseiju, who shelters all, because the deck runs a few large bomby instants and sorceries, which you need to reliably get off, and the worst is having a win con on board and just having it be countered. So Boseiju is super helpful for things like that. What's a commander deck without a command tower? High market so that your creatures can't be stolen, or if you steal someone's creature, you can sack it without them being able to get it back. We run all 3 of the man lands in here: Hissing Quagmire, Creeping Tar Pit, and Lumbering Falls. And just because it's sometimes you need that little damage through and you have nobody on board. Homeward Path, pretty much see high market, people steal your creatures, you need to get them back. Bojuka Bog is probably one of the most useful budget lands in Magic as far as EDH goes. The ability to exile someone's graveyard is just incredibly strong. If you have ways to bounce it, you can exile multiple graveyards. Just an amazing, amazing card. Minamo, Skull at Water's Edge. While it doesn't have amazing synergies with this deck, it's sometimes just helpful to have it be there to untap a legendary permanent. But most time it's just a expensive island in this deck. Watery Grave, just another Ravnica Shock. Flooded Strand and the rest of the fetch lands are great for putting Delve online and fixing your color base. And the 1 life for the most part doesn't really matter. Evolving Wilds is a placeholder for another true fetch land, which won't be replaced at some point. We have a Bayou, of course, Underground Sea, Urborg, just more great color fixing, and this deck runs pretty black heavy, so Urborg can be an amazing fixer. Lumbering Falls, already explained the man lands. Bazaar of Baghdad, well, it's not a card you're really going to see bouncing around your local gaming store, is insanely good in Tasigur due to the fact that it helps you fill up your graveyard incredibly fast and with cards that may or may not be important for the game you're playing. while continuing to draw you cards. It doesn't tap for mana, but with things like Urborg, it can be used to tap for mana, so it has its uses. Incredibly strong card in this deck. Breeding Pool, another Ravnica Shock, Bloodstained Mire, another fetch. Tolaria West, Confined, is normally in here to find either Bazaar of Baghdad or Urborg, or some of the combo pieces that we'll get to in a little bit. It's just a really strong land to have early game, just to play as a land if you need it, and late game it's just another tutor. So incredibly strong land in Tolaria West. Polluted Delta, another fetch land. Dryad Arbor, I have a love-hate relationship with Dryad Arbor, and the fact that it is summoning sick, but it is also a creature and a forest. So it can be tutored with either or, and it helps with getting another pip on Greater Hoof Behemoth. Woodland Cemetery is the only check land we run in here. It's mainly just because I have a fondness for its flavor text, but it's an alright land when you need the black and the green. Lotus Bloom is running here due to a combo that we'll get to in a little bit. But what's not to love about a suspended Black Lotus? Lotus Petal is pretty much the same thing. It's a bit more useful in the way Tasigur works. It is often just used as a fetch land of sorts. Gets you a mana, puts a card in your graveyard, and makes casting Tasigur easier. Soul Ring, every commander deck pretty much runs a Soul Ring, right? You don't need to be told that. Deathrite Shaman, my policy with a lot of this deck, if it's good enough to be banned in a format, it's good enough to be in this deck, and Deathrite Shaman's no exception. He is insanely strong in a deck that fills up its graveyard really fast. He's great at hating out other graveyard decks, and sometimes he's just a mana dork with a fetch land, so he's amazingly strong. Ulvenwald Tracker is probably one of the best removal spells in this deck, oddly enough, due to the amount of death touch this deck runs. So just being able to fight is amazing. Brainstorm, see Deathrite Shaman, and the fact that the card's good enough to be a staple in a format or banned in a format. It's definitely good enough to be in an EDH deck. Darkness is one of my pet cards. No one sees a black fog coming, and sometimes it can win you a game. You just get swung out on, play Darkness, swing back, and win. Mystical Tutor is one of the tutors in here that will be finding your win cons. So it's just a good one to have. It's instant speed. And yeah, can't complain. Una's Blackguard. Now this is where we start getting to more meat of the deck. Is this deck runs a rogue sub-theme where one of its major win cons resolves around Prowl. So Una's Blackguard has the rogue characteristic, as well as whenever a creature with a +1 counter deals damage, that player discards a card. This ability becomes really strong if you're just playing a one-on-one match, or if you're playing in like a 3-group game and someone has a full rack of hands. Una's Blackguard can quickly deplete their hand. Dark Confidant, see Brainstorm. He's just an amazing card. He ramps you early and you have 40 life to play with. Sylvan Library, pretty much see Dark Confidant. This card's great for just fixing, drawing you cards, and filling up a hand once you've kind of... Yeah. Survival of the Fittest. Originally this was Fauna Shaman, but Fauna Shaman normally dies pretty fast, whereas Survival's a bit more sturdy and being an enchantment and everything. So, not having a body is helpful in this sense. Cyclonic Rift is an EDH staple. I don't really need to say any more about it. Arcane Denial is kind of one of my favorite counter spells in the fact that while it draws them cards, it also draws you cards. So it's a remand in a sense that just hard counters the spell. And I don't know, it's just one of my pet favorite counter spells, and it only costs 1 blue and 1 colorless, which is in this deck a lot better than double blue that are most counter spells. Bitter Blossom, this is playing off the rogue theme again. Putting out 1/1s early doors for the cost of 1 life is amazing. You get to Una's Prowler, they become 2/2s that make you discard a card, or when we get to doubling season, this card is insane. It's just insane. Looter il-Kor. Now, Looter il-Kor is a card that, if you didn't really play in Time Spiral, you might not know. But Shadow is an incredibly strong ability if you need to get damage through. The fact that whenever he connects, he loots, really plays to the fact that Tasigur wants a full graveyard. And he's a rogue. So once again, we're looking at the prowl mechanic. Demonic Tutor is Demonic Tutor. Coiling Oracle, ramp, card draw. What's not to love about this card? This card is insanely good. Sakura-Tribe Elder, bad Coiling Oracle. Seek the River Cutthroat. He draws you cards if people are like fetching into Shockland, which is hilarious. He's a rogue. People don't pay much attention to him, but he always seems to draw you cards. The most important thing to know about him is do not miss that trigger, because I miss that trigger all the time. Reclamation Sage, just naturalize on the body, amazing. Krosan Grip, split second's amazing, it can win you a game. See split second again, sudden spoiling. This is a great way to stop a combo, survive a Crater Hoof Behemoth. Like, this card single-handedly can win you, or save your life, not win you a game. Vendilion Clique, great way if you're playing just one-on-one or a 3-person game to kind of control the game, lock it down and win. See strong blue cards. Pestermite, it's a rogue. It can tap a creature, so it stops a Voltron commander for 1 or 2 turns, because you can also use it to block. As flash. Pestermite's just amazing. It can be used to tap out a guy's cradle during someone's upkeep, which is always funny to see a mono green player try and play during their upkeep. Necropotence, seriously, this card at 40 life should probably be banned. This card just wins games by itself. Not much more to say. Void Slime is probably one of the most versatile counter spells in the weirdest colors. Blue-green is kind of weird for a counter control deck, but this deck can do that no problem. And Void Slime is just incredibly versatile. Incredibly versatile. Eternal Witness is Eternal Witness. It's a card for a card. Azusa is pretty great. We don't run the Strip Mine lock in this deck, so she's more just to ramp you out early. Sometimes this deck will allow you to play lands from your graveyard, so Azusa is kind of helpful in that aspect. Trinket Mage is there to find either Lotus Bloom or Lotus Petal. He's always on the cut list for this deck, but he's a very strong tutor. Darksteel Ingot, Mana Rock. Galisa the Trader. Now she combos really nicely with Lotus Petal, where every time a creature an opponent controls dies, you're going to get Lotus Petal back to your hand, which is just more mana that you can be used to combo with. She's just a very strong card. We have a few bigger drop artifacts later on, which she also lets you grab back, and she's more recursion, so she combos well with Tasigur. Toxic Deluge, it's an EDH staple. Like, do I really need to say more? One of the best field wives in the game. Edric, he draws you cards, he makes you friends. What's not to love? Call to Mind, just another way to interact with your graveyard. Can get you back Toxic Deluge, Cyclonic Rift, that sort of thing. Liliana the Veil, once again, she can be played in Legacy and Modern. She's good enough for this format. Sometimes just target player sacrifices a creature is game winning, so yeah, incredibly strong. Yawgmoth's Will, remember when I was talking about Azusa letting us play lands from my graveyard, this is Yawgmoth's Will's kind of deal. It's pretty much just a combo. Since we play out of our graveyard, it's just another combo piece and more of an insurance plan. Coalition Relic, amazing in the 3-color deck. And even better with Doubling Season, but we'll get to there. Damnation, black field white. Cryptic Command. Now 3 blue is pretty steep for this deck, but Cryptic Command is sometimes so clutch and game winning that it's just worth the 3 blue risk. Kiora, Master of the Depths. Now this is a standard card that honestly found its way into a deck that mainly just runs legacy cards. And it's for her -2. It's a great way to fill up your graveyard, fill up your hand, and just turn on Tasigur. Like, she's incredibly strong. Once in a blue moon, you alter, then you just laugh. And her plus is not actually that bad. So, Harmonize, draw 3 cards. It's better than a lot of blue draw, funnily enough. Birthing Pod, if it's good enough to be banned in Modern, it might be good enough for this deck. And Birthing Pod is definitely one of those. You'll see that this deck has a few key 7-drops, which often we just Birthing Pod Tasigur away and find those 7-drops. And we just dropped all that. Notorious Throng. Now we found our main win con. So I was talking about Prowl being important and Rogues being important. And it's because of Notorious Throng. Now, a lot of people will take 7 damage to the face. Like, you just swing out. And as long as one of your rogues connects, you can turn on Notorious Throng. And Notorious Throng is just pretty much, if you prowl it, you win the game. More or less. And with Una's Prowler, it's insane. Xiaodun. Xiaodun is just another card that interacts with your graveyard. He combos well with Demonic Tutor. Combos, he just becomes Demonic Tutor. People are not too excited to give you him back with Tasigur if you delve correctly. Just amazing. Garruk Relentless is kind of a pet card. I love Werewolf Garruk. He's not very good, but his flip side alt, which is creatures get +X/+X for each creature in your graveyard, can win you the game. But he's more of just a flavor card. Genesis, you don't really need to say much about Genesis. He's insane. Shriekmaw. Most of the time, Shriekmaw's just a removal spell. Sometimes you play him as a creature. But most of the time, it's just all about that evoke. Doubling Season. This deck runs a lot of creatures that kind of just drop out a few tokens. Or like Doubling, or Bitter Blossom, or Notorious Throng. And Doubling Season just combos really nicely with that. Bribery. Bribery is pretty much here because everyone has at least one creature that can combo with this deck. So Bribery is just a great way to find that creature. Sidisi, she's just another tutor. Most of the time she exploits herself, so she just comes in, play, dies, and you get a tutor out of the deal. Sometimes she'll eat a fairy, and then she's just a 4/6 Death Touch blocker. Muldrifter, Sea Shriekmaw, it's just here for the evoke. Fill up your graveyard a little bit. Acidic Slime, that's just kind of a Vindicate, so that's helpful. Liliana Vess, she's here to be a Vampiric Tutor, and that's about it. Grave Titan, just an amazing beat stick. The 2/2 zombies are just gravy, but he's amazing. Soren Markov should probably be banned in EDH. Setting someone's life total to 10 right when he comes into play is game breaking. It normally just kills the player. Massacre Worm, if you're playing against token deck, of course you're running Massacre Worm. He's just amazingly strong, and the triple black is not that big of a deal. Frost Titan, the ability to just freeze down a permanent is so strong, and he has the protection little aura on him. Just one of my favorite cards in the deck. I'm always happy to see Frost Titan. Platinum Angel is a card that Tasigur can turn into out of a Birthing Pod, which is a great way if you're on the ropes to not die. Hornet Queen is game winning. You can Birthing Pod her out with Tasigur. what's not to love about Hornet Queen. Damia is like a sub-commander for this deck. She refills your hand most time, and once again, you can find her with Birthing Pod and Tasigur. Dig Through Time gives you another Delve card, lets you control your graveyard a little bit more. And once again, if it's good enough to be banned in 2 formats, it's good enough to be here. Craterhoof Behemoth, you can Birthing Pod Hornet Queen into Craterhoof Behemoth, which is normally a win. And then finally, Kozilek, to shuffle the graveyard in and to just be a bomb. Alright, so that is the deck. It is a combo deck that rounds out with bombs, playing out of its graveyard. This is Johnny Crass, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching CMDR videos. Please like and subscribe below.